It was the eerie witching hour, nearing 3 in the morning, when the alarm awakened Rachel from her slumber. Grumbling, she lounged under the cozy blankets, wrapped in the warmth of her bed. The relentless downpour, the relentless storm that had besieged the island of Kauai for the past 3 days brought an unusual chill to the air. The rain beat against the window panes, a monotonous drumbeat becoming Rachel's nightly companion. It wasn't the rain, however, that broke the calm of her night, but something else, an elusive presence that demanded her attention. With a reluctant sigh, Rachel sat up in bed and looked around the dimly lit room. The light. Her bedroom, decorated with unusual shadows, was flooded with an unfamiliar bright light that wasn't immediately recognizable. Thomas, her brother-in-law, had installed a new light fixture shortly before the storm, as a precaution against possible intruders. No guests had shown up during the storm, and Rachel had prepared carefully and stocked up on everything she needed. The light fixture, normally inactive, inexplicably flickered on. Perhaps the wind had blown an object into the garden, and the motion-sensitive system had kicked in. The light fixture should have shut off after 3 minutes, but it continued to glow. Rachel pondered the duration of her awakening, watching the inexorable march of minutes on the clock. 4. Then 5. The light remained unyielding. Thomas's knowledge of electricity was far from brilliant, and under normal circumstances Rachel would have insisted on a professional installation. But in the island's peaceful countryside, the need for security seemed questionable. Rachel listened to her sister's wishes, though crime was a distant possibility in these secluded corners, unless you were afraid to watch the ravings of eccentric pumpkin carving enthusiasts. Rachel's nearest neighbors were 15 minutes away, and she enjoyed the solitude. Her driveway lacked the sophistication of a sidewalk. Who, she pondered, would venture this far when a more enticing destination could be found in a coastal town? Scolding and grumbling, Rachel reluctantly left her warm shelter, dressed in shorts and a long-sleeved t-shirt. The cold was more penetrating than expected, and the floor beneath her feet was icy. Moving with quick, nimble steps, she walked to the window, wrapping her arms around herself to keep warm. Peering through the rain-wet glass, she strained to see where the security light was. Thick streaks of rain distorted her view, turning the outside world into a surreal dance inside a crystal decanter. Movement flashed in the periphery of her vision. Her heart raced, but immediately calmed, and she focused on her driveway. Standing beside her car was a figure that looked like a girl, with bright red hair in a vintage surf bun style. Clothed in a long floral print dress, the mysterious figure stood in the pouring rain. Distance and bad weather hid her facial features from Rachel. As if realizing she had been spotted, the girl shifted her gaze to the bedroom window and waved her hand, greeting her slowly and robotically. A chill ran down Rachel's body, and small hairs stirred on her arms. She instinctively backed away from the window and took a few deep breaths to calm herself. The mystery girl remained outside, seemingly stuck due to car trouble or some unforeseen circumstance. The proximity of Rachel's car and the manually turned-on security light indicated that she thought someone was home. However, Rachel kept wondering how the girl had determined her exact location in the darkened room, amidst the distracting glare of the flashlight and other windows on the second floor. Despite her attempts to reassure herself with innocent explanations, Rachel's curiosity caused her to cast another glance out the window. The girl kept walking, a frail figure in the storm. Her youthful appearance made her apprehensive amidst the announced storm warnings and emergency procedures. 2 nearby roads were flooded, and Rachel couldn't forgive herself if the girl needed help and was left stranded. Pushing her doubts aside, Rachel decided to head down the stairs. Suppressing creepy thoughts and trying to rationalize the unusual shadows, Rachel made her way down, noticing a car and a small palm tree casting long shadows from the bright white light of the lanai. Strangely, there was no shadow on the girl at all, a detail that could be written off as angles or rain-induced trickery of perception. The blurry details of the storm made it hard for Rachel to trust her observations. As soon as her foot touched the bottom step, a resounding knock sounded through the house. A rhythmic and forceful knock on the front door, not like the soft and persuasive manner Rachel had expected to hear from the girl. The knock was loud, unexpected, and strangely hollow. Nerves tensed, distorting perception and increasing Rachel's anxiety. Trying to reason rationally, she considered the possibility that the loud knock was caused by desperation. However, The absence of the doorbell puzzled her. Perhaps there was someone else with the girl, hidden from her sight. This revelation increased Rachel's anxiety. What if the girl was accompanied by some formidable presence? A guy, big and menacing. In the kitchen, Rachel armed herself with a small, sharp knife. Nothing overtly threatening, but a tool that promised to do harm if necessary. Regret for the privacy she'd chosen, and a newfound vulnerability stirred in her soul. The urgency of the knock echoed in her bones, nudging Rachel to face the unknown. Balancing between thoughts of flooded roads and possible emergencies, she walked to the front door, knife at the ready. Part of her soul screamed at her to back off, to lock herself in her room until morning, but defiance took over. With a swift movement, she swung the door open and peered out into the pouring rain. No one was there. "Hello?" called Rachel, stepping gingerly onto the lanai. "Is someone in here? Do you need help?" She moved forward cautiously, adjusting the handle of her knife. The rain, fierce and deafening, whipped down on her bare ankles like ocean spray, and its cold spray carried the odor of drowning and mud. Despite her careful inspection, there was no one in sight, not even footprints in the softened earth of the driveway. Rachel walked to the edge of the outside steps and took one last look around. "I'm going back to the house," she said, and her voice shook more than she intended. As she turned, the front door slammed shut with a clatter, shaking the lanai floor. The security light went out abruptly, as if the bulb had burned out in an instant. Rachel rushed to the closed door and began frantically twisting the knob, but it wouldn't turn. Impossible. The only way to lock the door was from the outside, and she hadn't installed a deadbolt. Finally, the door swung open as if there had been no resistance. Rachel rushed inside, slamming the door shut behind her. The house seemed empty and full at the same time, the grayness of the rainy night settling on the familiar rooms like a layer of dust. Rachel felt a sense of urgency. The house had to be searched. Someone could lurk against the wall and slip inside while she was focused on the driveway. It took a few moments before, standing in the empty front room to the quiet pounding of the rain and her pounding heart, she mustered the courage to begin her search. Finding no one, Rachel began to relax. The search ended in the kitchen, where she decided to pour herself a glass of water and check her phone. Just to be cautious, she texted her sister. Nothing alarming, just letting her know about the girl in the driveway. Placing the carving knife on the counter, she reached for her phone but found no bars or Wi-Fi. Because of the storm, the connection had been intermittently interrupted over the past few days. Rachel tried not to think of it as isolation, but rather as a temporary inconvenience. Her imagination, she reasoned, was playing tricks on her. Tomorrow she would laugh at herself and spend another cozy afternoon watching whatever was saved on the VCR. A thin breeze whistled past her ear as she reached for a glass from the cupboard. There was an unfamiliar, sharp sound in the kitchen, a resounding thud. Slowly, nervously, she closed the cupboard to check. A meat cleaver was stuck in the door as if it had been thrown. Rachel turned around. The kitchen, brightly lit, was empty. Rachel grabbed the phone off the table and hurried up the stairs to the bedroom. The plan was clear. Put on flip-flops and decent clothes, grab her keys, and leave. The goat ranch up the road, owned by friendly retirees, seemed like a haven, despite the expected difficulties. Flooded roads, debris, and possible obstacles. She felt she had to try. She nearly slipped on the wooden stairs as she hurried to change clothes, choosing a practical ensemble to avoid riding in her underwear in the downpour. Grabbing a pair of jeans from the closet floor, she pulled them on, turning her back to the window. As she dressed, the room was flooded with the same pale white light that had disturbed her sleep less than an hour ago. It was the security light coming back on. Rachel reluctantly turned to face the window, fearful of what she might find there. The red-haired girl was gone, but the light continued on. Calmly putting on her flip-flops, she stepped out into the hallway, breathing heavily and treading carefully. At the top of the stairs, the house seemed colder than she had expected, and the pungent scent of rain-soaked earth wafted from it. Rachel pulled herself together, realizing that she needed to reach her neighbors in peace. When she reached the middle of the stairs, however, an overwhelming rush of fear came over her. The front door was wide open. The security light cast patterned shadows on the floor as Rachel approached the door, intending to run straight to the car without hesitation. As she crossed the lanai, she noticed movement in the gray shadows of the living room. Rachel froze, unable to resist the urge to look. A red-haired girl stood with her head tilted to one side, Up close, Rachel noticed details she hadn't seen before. The black dirt under the girl's fingernails, the mess in her once neat hair, the rips and stains on her long floral dress. "I'm sorry," the girl spoke, glancing over her shoulder as if anticipating someone else emerging from the shadows. Suddenly, the security light went off.